Hey everybody, and welcome to the 5 Bytes Podcast. I'm your host, Rory Monahan, and the podcast, as always, is brought to you by my sponsors, and that includes Numescent, the inventors of the first and only cloud-native container management platform for Windows desktops, and of course also brought to you by Master Packager, an application packaging software that helps you build packages that end users love, enterprises want, and the Windows OS needs. If you enjoy the show each week, you have these awesome sponsors to thank. And now for some news. Over the weekend, I saw TechRadar had an article including a report from ControlUp about Windows 11 readiness, suggesting half of all business-managed Windows devices have not yet made the switch to Windows 11. I thought this was significant because for the last couple of years, there's been data about Windows 11 adoption that has just been like a general report. The only reports I've seen that previously made passing mention of enterprise devices had no hard data, whereas this report analyzed over 1 million devices across many industries and specifically business-managed devices. So this is not a bunch of devices running Windows lumped together, both consumer and business devices. The 50% number reflects progress from last year when over 80% of enterprise machines were still on Windows 10, but with support ending on October 14th of this year, obviously time is running out for organizations still lagging behind. They may have to incur the cost of extended security updates if they don't move quickly. Education and tech led the way according to ControlUp's report, with over 70% of systems upgraded. Healthcare and finance trailed far behind, with fewer than half of their devices running Windows 11. Some healthcare devices were reported to simply be too old, with 19% needing replacement before an upgrade is possible. Regional trends show the Americas are the lowest to move forward. Just 43% of enterprise devices there have been upgraded, compared to 70% in Europe. So hey, way to go Europe, I guess. Notably, most of the unupgraded machines in the Americas are technically capable of running Windows 11, but the switch just hasn't been made yet. Larger organizations are also behind, according to the report. Those managing more than 10,000 Windows devices have completed just 42% of their migration. Complex environments and aging infrastructure are unfortunately slowing progress, according to TechRadar. Also in this wheelhouse, Windows Central had an interesting take recently, and I will call it just a take because personally I don't put too much stock into it. But they reported that Microsoft published a blog post that claims Windows is currently on over 1 billion devices. They state that back in 2022, when Microsoft shared a number, they reported 1.4 billion devices running Windows. Windows Central has suggested the fact that they now say over 1 billion, and it's kind of more of a generic statement and is not like pinpoint number like the previous 1. This must be because they have fewer users of Windows now than back in 2022. They're just not outright saying it. I don't know. That's kind of a spurious claim. Maybe they do have 1.42 billion or something like that, and they just went for something that's a little bit catchier in terms of a number. There has been stories suggesting that there has been a decline in Windows usage, with some using hardware that is incompatible with Windows 11 choosing to simply move off Windows entirely. Also, Windows 11 related, TechSpot reports that Windows 11 performance is up to 2.3 times faster than its predecessor, according to a Microsoft article. Now, TechSpot stated that Microsoft decided the best way to show off how much faster Windows 11 is than Windows 10 wasn't to test both on the same systems, suggesting that their testing methodology was flawed. Microsoft chose to use a single synthetic test for this claim, but not on the same type of systems for each OS. In Microsoft's article, they stated, quote, based on testing performed by Microsoft in December 2024 using Geekbench 6 multi-core score comparing a selection of Windows 10 PCs with Intel Core 6th, 8th, and 10th generation processors and Windows 11 PCs with Intel Core 12th and 13th generation processors, end quote, which means they ran Windows 11 on Intel machines that are from like 2022 to 2024, whereas they ran Windows 10 on Intel laptops between 7 and 9 years old, which, to be fair, to me does seem like flawed methodology. I found it interesting that there was a whole lot of Windows 11 adoption-related articles in the last week or so. I guess it's not surprising since we're less than 6 months away from that end of support of Windows 10. According to a report by bleepycomputer.com, Microsoft has confirmed a new known issue causing delivery delays for June 2025 Windows security updates due to an incorrect metadata timestamp. The bug affects Windows 10 and Windows 11 systems in environments with quality update deferral policies that enable admins to delay update installations on managed devices. While update deployment delays are an expected result when using such policies, the wrong timestamp for the June security updates will postpone them beyond the period specified by admins. In Microsoft's advisory, they stated, quote, "Some devices and environments where IT admins use quality update deferral policies might experience delays in receiving the June 2025 Windows security update. Although the update was released on June 10, 2025, its update metadata timestamp reflects a date of June 20th, 2025. This discrepancy might cause devices with configured deferral periods to receive the update later than expected." End quote. While still investigating this known issue, Microsoft has provided Windows admins with several temporary workarounds to accelerate deployment for the June 2025 updates until a fix is available. And you can find those steps with this article that I'm referring to for this story, and I'll share that with this episode, which is episode 393, and you can find that at 5bytespodcast.com. Microsoft says its Defender for Office 365 cloud-based email security suite will now automatically detect and block email bombing attacks. Microsoft said, quote, "We're introducing a new detection capability in Microsoft Defender for Office 365 to help protect your organization from a growing threat known as email bombing. This form of abuse floods mailboxes with high volumes of email to obscure important messages or overwhelm systems. The new mail bombing detection will automatically identify and block these attacks, helping security teams maintain visibility into real threats." End quote. The new mail bombing feature started rolling out in late June of this year and is expected to reach all organizations by late July. It will be toggled on by default and requires no manual configuration and will automatically send all messages identified as part of a mail bombing campaign to your junk folder. A recent Shadow Server report states over 1,200 Citrix NetScaler ADC and NetScaler Gateway appliances are exposed online and unpatched against critical vulnerabilities believed to be actively exploited, allowing threat actors to bypass authentication by hijacking user sessions. And of course, these critical vulnerabilities are the new Citrix Bleed 2 that I talked a little bit about on last week's episode. While Citrix is yet to confirm that Citrix Bleed 2 is being actively exploited in the wild, cybersecurity firm ReliaQuest reported last Thursday with medium confidence that the vulnerability is already being abused in targeted attacks. So obviously that makes the fact that there are so many of these devices online, exposed, and unpatched a major concern. So patch, people. Bleepycomputer.com reported that WinRAR has addressed a directory traversal vulnerability tracked as CVE-2025-6218 that under certain circumstances allows malware to be executed after extracting a malicious archive. The vulnerability has a 7.8 out of 10 rating on the severity scale. It affects only the Windows version of WinRAR from version 7.11 and older, and a fix was released in WinRAR version 7.12 Beta 1. So just a reminder that these freeware applications do get abused by cyber gangs for attacks, and you want to stay on top of managing those applications too. The government in Switzerland is informing that sensitive information from various federal offices has been impacted by a ransomware attack at a third-party organization, Radix. The hackers have stolen data from Radix systems and later leaked it on the dark web, the government says. The exposed data is being analyzed with the help of the country's National Cybersecurity Center to determine which government agencies are impacted and to what effect. Radix says it informed impacted individuals via personalized notifications and notes that there is no evidence that sensitive data from partner organizations was affected. So obviously that's going to be a major black eye for this third-party organization. Being cleared to work with government agencies usually requires some level of clearance, and I wonder if that's going to be affected now that this breach happened. Hopefully they had all their ducks in a row, and this is just a case of, the inevitable happened rather than inviting an attack by leaving vulnerabilities exposed. BleepyComputer.com has reported that Let's Encrypt has announced it will no longer notify users about imminent certificate expirations via email due to high costs, privacy concerns, and unnecessary complexities. The decision to end the notification email service was implemented as of June 4th of this year, but Let's Encrypt has now communicated it via a blog post to raise awareness and prevent unexpected disruptions. Microsoft has confirmed that its Family Safety Parental Control service is blocking users from launching Google Chrome and some other web browsers on Windows systems. Microsoft said, quote, "We received reports of a new issue affecting Google Chrome and some browsers. When children tried to open these browsers, they shut down unexpectedly. However, the standard workflow is to prompt a parental approval message stating, 'You'll need to ask to use this app.' Once the approval is consented, the browser operates as intended. This issue is only observed when the activity reporting feature is turned off." End quote. This known issue affects devices running Windows 10 22H2 and Windows 11 22H2 or later, and Microsoft is currently working to find a fix for the issue. Until a fix is available, affected users are advised to turn on the activity reporting feature under Windows settings in Microsoft Family Safety, which will allow parents to receive approval requests as expected. So this is hopefully one that's not going to affect enterprises, but you never know if you're supporting people who work remotely and they're using their own home devices and they don't really understand the family safety feature and somehow have it misconfigured, then maybe this is going to come up. Either way, it's probably a good one for IT professionals to know about. In a recent What's New post for Intune, Microsoft shared that the ARM64 support for Win32 apps is now available in Intune. And this is something that I covered on a previous episode of the podcast, but I had covered that it was in preview. But it appears now it's one of the What's New features for this month in Intune. Also new is auto updates with app supersedence. And they say with this, you can automatically update Win32 applications on an enrolled end user's device that have been deployed from the company portal. These Win32 apps that have been deployed as available can automatically now be updated by setting both the supersedence relationship for the app and selecting auto update when setting the assignment. So that's a pretty nice feature, and it's probably actually been sorely needed. So yeah, very cool. Progress. Microsoft has fixed a known issue that will cause the classic Outlook email client to crash when opening emails or starting a new message. The bug impacts users across all Office 365 channels who updated Outlook for Microsoft 365 earlier this month. Microsoft will also release non-security updates to fix the issue for Outlook 2016 and Outlook 2019 on July 1st and July 8th, respectively. Microsoft shared what's new in Microsoft 365 Copilot for June 2025, and that includes enhancements for Copilot Analytics tool, enhancements to Copilot in Outlook, such as being able to schedule meetings through Copilot Chat, summarizing email attachments, sidebar experience introduced to the new Outlook app. There's also improved image generation and large file handling in Copilot Chat. The Copilot mobile app is being updated so you can talk to the AI in a natural manner using your voice and more. And I'll share a link to everything that's been covered by neowin.net for this month with this episode. In a follow-up to a previous story I reported on, a Kansas City man has pleaded guilty to hacking multiple organizations to advertise his cybersecurity services. 32-year-old Nicholas Michael Cluster was indicted last year for hacking into the networks of 3 organizations in 2024, including a health club and a Missouri nonprofit corporation. Cluster is facing a potential sentence of up to 5 years in federal prison without parole, along with a fine of up to $250,000, 3 years of supervised release, and an order of restitution. Ars Technica shared that they reviewed a letter that a software provider and VMware user in the Netherlands received that is dated June 20th and informs the firm that it has been selected for a formal audit of its use of VMware software and support services. They had been a customer for about a decade, and their CEO decided not to extend the support contract because of costs, obviously after the Broadcom acquisition. Now, they claim that the only, change to the environment since the end of support was that they deployed one critical security patch. But they've got a letter that notifying that an auditing firm called Connor Consulting, which is headquartered in San Francisco and has offices around the globe, will perform a review of the company's VMware deployment and entitlements, which may include fieldwork or remote testing and meetings with members of accounting, licensing, and management information system functions. And it's said that someone from Connor will reach out and that the VMware user should respond within 3 business days. The employee also claims to Ars Technica that their company did not receive a cease and desist letter from Broadcom before being informed of an audit. So this isn't the first story of this kind, and I'm sure it's not going to be the last. According to the Register, the U.S. Department of Justice has cleared the way for HPE's $14 billion acquisition of Juniper Networks on condition it sells instant on Wi-Fi and licenses some of its existing code. So obviously trying to get them to remove their conflict of interest with the Juniper Networks business that they're acquiring before they'll approve or give final approval to this acquisition. But it seems like it's getting close, and this is one that's dragged on for quite some time now. The U.S. Department of Justice notched an initial win in its antitrust case against Apple, according to The Verge. A federal judge rejected Apple's attempt to dismiss the lawsuit outright. The government's allegations are sufficient to demonstrate Apple's specific intent to monopolize the smartphone and performance smartphone market, according to Judge Julian Niels, who wrote in an opinion piece on Monday. Apple filed to dismiss the government's lawsuit in August 2024, arguing that the Justice Department failed to show that Apple monopolized the smartphone market or acted in an anti-competitive manner. The lawsuit was based on the outlandish premise that Apple's success comes from intentional degradation of iPhones to block purported competitive threats. Now, the outlandish claim is probably laughable to anyone who's been paying attention to the tech scene for years. The Register reported that a judge has sentenced a disgruntled IT worker to more than 7 months in prison after he wreaked havoc on his employer's network following his suspension. He allegedly changed access credentials and the business's multi-factor authentication settings that locked out the firm and its clients in Germany and Bahrain, eventually causing an estimated £200,000 in lost business and reputational harm. He reportedly pleaded guilty to 1 count of committing unauthorized acts with intent to impair the operation of or to hinder access to a computer. Apparently, he logged his attacks and discussed them on phone calls that were later retrieved by the police. So I'd imagine it was a pretty slam dunk case here. Windows Central reports that Microsoft is ramping up its efforts in the AI landscape by reportedly pushing its staff to use more AI tools in their internal workflows. Microsoft's president of developer division in GitHub, Julia Lucen, recently sent an email to the company's top management requesting them to evaluate employee performance based on the use of internal AI tools such as GitHub Copilot. They stated that AI is now a fundamental part of how we work. Just like collaboration, data-driven thinking, and effective communication, using AI is no longer optional. It's core to every role and every level. In an email, the executive further indicated, quote, AI should be part of your holistic reflections on an individual's performance and impact, end quote. While Microsoft's performance threshold varies across different divisions, it's apparent that the tech giant could set the use of internal AI tools as a key performance requirement for some of its department. However, it is still unclear how the company plans to move forward with these plans or even which teams will be impacted by the new change. So very interesting that they're essentially making the use of a tool a requirement and part of performance review. So it's not necessarily just about results, I guess. It's more about how you get to the results too. According to neowin.net, Tinder is now mandating that new users in California verify their profiles using facial recognition technology, and in a move the company claims will improve trust and safety on its platform. The way the face check works is that new users have to take a quick video selfie during the sign-up process. The technology provided by a company called FaceTech runs a biometric scan to confirm that you are real, a live person that's in front of the camera. So I know this isn't necessarily enterprise related, but I'm seeing more and more some of these apps have verification where they ask you to like have the camera open and then turn left, turn right. So this is potentially going to be something that enters into the fray in more applications, perhaps in like finance applications as well for approving transfers and stuff like that. It's also interesting from an Irish perspective because one of the major news stories here over the recent years was something called GAA catfish. It was a story that just blew up and got a lot of attention here, where a woman was catfishing multiple men and basically making excuses as to not meet and just really destroying a lot of people's lives. And it seems like, at least through Tinder and this feature, that may no longer be possible. But now, this episode's scripts, tricks, and tips. First up, the awesome James Kindon shared an update to a previous blog post, actually, in finding the value in your Citrix investments in 2025. So if you didn't check out James's previous blog post on this topic, it's a really comprehensive blog post going through a lot of the different features and benefits of the Citrix stack, and now it's updated with the context of 2025. Also, GitHub Copilot is now open source, and you can check out the source code for yourself on GitHub, and I'll share a link to that with this episode. Well, I'll leave it there, but maybe before I do, in wrapping up, I'm contemplating the future of this podcast. I've been doing it for a long, long time now, since 2018, and I've been sure to at least get an episode out in a calendar week every week since I started. But it does take an awful lot of time to prep and record every single week, so it eats in significantly into my personal time. So currently, I do sponsorship, so I'm selling sponsored slots. You may have noticed I went from 3 sponsors to 2 this year, and that's not necessarily because I couldn't find a third sponsor. I decided not to, just because I was thinking, well, maybe I just get 2 for this year, see it over the line, and then possibly end the podcast next year, possibly around August or September. So I'm contemplating that. Another thing I might do is just switch to monthly, but I don't know if I want to do that. That'll make really long single episodes every month. Maybe I could look at something like Patreon, but I'm not really sure. If you have any opinions, feel free to share. But yeah, I guess just a heads up that I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet, but it's possible this podcast may come to an end in a few months' time. But hey, regardless of that, it's not going away right now, and I'll catch you next week, and thanks so much for listening.